Alright, so Caesar, Rome versus Gaul. I've done a few videos about this. Here's another one. I thought I'd show you a little bit about the gameplay. Like most games, you have a, of this type, I should say, most card-driven games, you have an op value or an action value that you can use to do that number of actions or activate a leader with that rating or something of that ilk. Then you have an event that you can use, sometimes out of turn as a response, and you have to choose between using the ops and the event. Well, in this game, you have kind of that going on, but in a slightly more simple style than perhaps some card-driven games. You'll see some cards have a blue action value that indicates that that event is only playable by the Gaul player. The red, and they're different shapes too, so for the truly dire colorblind, you can see the difference in shape. Square box behind the Roman indicates that's only Roman. So red for Roman, blue for Gaul. And then there's neutral, can be played by either player. That's round, but like a light gray background. Now, unlike the Hannibal game, Rome versus Carthage, by the same designer, the op value in that game is used to determine what leaders could be activated. For example, a leader that's got a strategy rating of 3 could only be activated by a 3-op card. Conversely, a leader that's got a strategy rating of 1 could be activated by a 1, 2, or a 3-op card, thus making that leader the most flexible. In this game, leaders aren't assigned ratings like that. Instead, leaders are given a rating, a battle rating, which is a number of rerolls they can use in battle. They're also given a command rating, which is how many units they can command effectively before they have to march a lot more slowly. And then a movement rating, that is the third on there. So they don't have like a strategy rating like in Hannibal. And so how this works is if you choose to use this for the action value, well, that's how many actions you can take. One action is to activate a general and move him on the board with any of the units that he commands. Another action would be to place a influence or political control token. They're called influence tokens in this game. And so they can go in empty spaces, or if you are occupying an enemy's held space, you can use one of those action points to flip the marker to your side. Generals that are activated, they can remove the round influence tokens from a space at the cost of 2 movement points. Hexagonal spaces, control markers, and square town control markers have to be besieged or subjugated in order to remove them from the board. Once removed, a subsequent action could be to place a round influence token in there. The Romans can only place their influence tokens in a sequence from a previously connected space. So if you had 2 action points, you could spend 1 to go here because it's adjacent to a Roman space, and then here, thus linking those spaces up. You can also do that if it's in an adjacent space to a combat unit. So even though you might be deep into enemy territory like this, you could place a marker here, 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 or here because it's adjacent to combat units commanded by Caesar. Of course, you can always place one in the space that you occupy. So that's basically how your command points are going to be used, your action points are going to be used, predominantly to activate generals and place influence tokens on the board. That's going to be the primary use of those. For the Gauls, their placement of influence tokens is a little bit more flexible. They don't have to have adjacency to a previously controlled space, so they can plop their units down a little bit more flexibly than the Romans can. So in this particular instance, it's the Romans' first go of turn 1. And the situation on the board is we've got some tribes that came out here. And in my last game, I tried the strategy of going after the bonus points early because it was they seemingly easy to get to them. The problem is these tribes, they can pop up into existence really quick. And pretty soon, Caesar was in over his head in tribal disputes and conflict that just simply overwhelmed him by the end of turn 4. So don't want to do that again, my strategy this time is now to play whack-a-mole with these Gallic tribes. So maybe go after these guys and squash them, and then maybe go for the bonus points as opportunity presents itself. Cool card that's in hand is the one I showed you at the beginning here. Veni Vidi Vici. I can use this particular event to activate Caesar and any one of his legates, which are like sub-leaders in the game. So one of his legates here is Marcus Antonius, and he's in Vienna with 2 legions, and then Caesar is up in the Aedui region, and he's got, or province, and he's got 6 legions with him. So my plan would be to use this as an event instead of using the 3 action points, because the event allows me to activate Caesar and another legate and their army. Then I also get to use 3 action points, and that's what the bonus indication means. So what I could do with this is I could spend one of those activations. I could take Caesar and go 1, 2. Once I enter that space, the tribe there, the Parisi, could try to intercept, but then he would fight a battle, and he's going to be badly outnumbered. Better off to withstand a siege and at least slow Caesar down. So how this is going to work is he's moved 2 spaces to here. He's not intercepted. I then spend 2 movement points to remove that control token. The reason for that is if he moves in here, he can move past the control token, but now the Bellavazzi could also intercept, and now you could have a combined force that would be superior to Caesar's army if taken into consideration that this would be 10 points worth of troop strength. He's got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, but if they control this region where the fight takes place, the province where the fight takes place, then the controlling faction adds 2 to their battle rating. So I guess they wouldn't be superior, but they would fight. He would be fighting on equal terms, and that's usually not the best idea to do. Better to go from a position of superiority. So that's why I spend 2 movement points to remove that. Besides, he won't be able to conduct a siege this turn anyways. Once I move into here, the decision now is pretty simple, I think, for the Gauls not to go ahead and intercept and fight a battle. Better to force him to make a siege and use the other tribes to nip at his heels, as it were. It costs 3 movement points to resolve a siege, so he's out of movement points for this turn, having spent 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and now 5 to lay siege to the Parisi fortified town. For the legate, I want to keep an eye on these 2 provinces here, so I'm just going to march him 1, 2, 3, and 4 to mind the things down here. That way, if the Luci tribe gets frisky, at least Marcus Antonius can fight him on a superior basis in this region, or this province, and as well as this province. He now has 3 action points to use to lay down more control markers. And so I've got some choices to make. Because Caesar is located here, I could place 1 and 2, and now I control this particular province of Celtica. That might be a really good use of those resources. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. So we'll take 1 marker, put it here. Second marker here, which I can do because I formed a string of control markers. And for the third one, it might be useful to make a foray into Belgica. So I'll go ahead and place 1 here, also being adjacent to Caesar. And that would conclude my card play. So that gives you an idea of the type of play that you're going to experience in Caesar, Rome versus Gaul by Mark Simonich and GMT Games.